So Chitrani, lovely to meet with you, and really looking forward to you investing your time and me investing my time with you here today, as we build out our series for our interviews on the future of our people. And so tell us a little bit about yourself, Chitrani, and what do you do?
So by trade, I became a qualified accountant at I think around 25. I started to work in accounting at around 18. Working and putting myself through school due to finances at the time. We did not have GATE or anything like that back then. And then I went on to do an MBA. I worked in many different companies, some small, medium-sized, and multinational. Within the last 6 years, I came to work back at the family business to grow it to the next level. And of course, to also invest in myself into other things, into higher education. I'm about to start my PhD with UNICAF University. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what do you think is the most rewarding part about what you do?
So during my career, I would have been a number cruncher in my early days in terms of clerical, and as I moved up in accounting and stuff like that. But as I advanced, I moved more into business partnering. So I business partner with the leaders of organization and do feasibility analysis if different investment makes sense or not. And to me, now I have reached the people part, and now it's all about motivating people and getting them to the next level, investing time in them, investing time in their careers and stuff like that, and really bringing meaning to the work-life balance that we all try to accomplish. Yeah.
Oh.
So I would think that is the most rewarding part, because you see people from the time you met them to the now and the present, how they have changed, and that whole growth process, both on a mental perspective as well as professional. And you see it in their work, and you also see it in their attitude in terms of their aura. They're more cheery, they're nice to be around, those sort of things. Yeah.
What is your team?
My team?
This is the persons who you've been able to impact. You're talking about is your team, correct? Or is it
yes, the management team.
Yeah.
So we have a purchasing manager. We have a purchasing manager. We have an office manager, but she deals /HR. She's HR as well. And then we have 2 branch sales managers together with the managing director. So when I filled out the form for you, I would have done a lot of training that I did with them, because while they are qualifying what they do, they won't qualify in a lot of management theories and the way how to motivate people and get people to work, because they were like traditional managers. They do most of the work. So they carry 80% of the load of their departments, compared to you have to really make time to spread out the workload for the manager to make time to grow his department and to really add value to the business.
Oh, wow.
So what was happening is that they were very involved in the business, doing everyday today work, but nobody was involved in contributing positively in growing the business. And every department makes that positive contribution. And what I was able to do is, over the last 4 years, I would have made the team. I'm here 6 years now, so I would have taken 2 years to sort of formulate the team and stuff like that. And over the last 4 years, I have meetings regularly. We have meetings once a week where everybody know their contribution and what is the vision of the company and where is the company going and what is their contribution to that and their department contribution. And they all go back to their teams and they will talk about that and motivate their team, because everybody needs to feel part of a team and have a goal and a vision. Because if you come every day and you just do a job and you're going nowhere and it's mundane, then there is no motivation to go further. Yeah, you start to get bored, then your mind starts to get dull, then of course you start to be, demotivated to work, you get disgruntled, those sort of things.
Wow. So what I'm hearing you say, Chitrani, is that you really understood that in order for people to be more engaged and to deliver more than is expected, that you understand it was really important for them to keep connected to the vision. So you as a leader actively, or took a lot of did a lot of things to get them really connected to the vision so that they felt very emotionally connected to why you were doing what you're doing. They were able to go back to their teams and cascade it and keep their teams connected. And it also, I also heard you say that you created the kind of habits and consistencies to do it. So it was very regular. It wasn't something
Yes.
you did as a one-off and then didn't do it again.
Right. So my task here was really change management. How do I change the company and turn it around to become viable, a viable option? This company is 20 something years old. We are 24 years old, and we would have traded an name of alternative supplies. And I would have had, when I came here, it was an HR nightmare. Even the owners didn't want to work here. I think it was a very spiral negative impact that happened over the years, and it was work to rule sort of environment. So they would pull out their JDs, and they religiously will come like 20 past 8. Their working hours is 8 to 4, and they religiously will lock up by quarter to 4. Right? They take their hour lunch, and they exhausted all of their sick days, all of their vacations. So they were all disenchanted. They all did not want to be, and they did not want to work, and they did not know what they were working for. It's just to do a 8 to 4 jobs. This clock card in, clock card out. And what I had to do was do that whole level of change management, which took a process. And then I had to get a lot of buy-in. And I think the main part of it in the end, when I do weekly touching with them, is to keep them on that wall, because we can easily go back into our old routines if we don't keep the vision alive. What gets measured gets achieved, and that's for sure what I have done. Everybody has their target. Each department have their targets and how they contribute, and they know exactly what they're about. So it took a long time, because I'm an accountant. I'm not very trained like that, right? But of course, I would have done it where I worked in a multinational before, in Unilever, and now I just progressed it across here to a smaller scale. But it took a lot. It took a while.
That's
Yeah.
great. And so I love what you're saying, because this kind of also aligns with a lot of the work that we are doing here at Engage and Grow. And again, we do know that culture change takes about a couple of years, and people often think that, oh, we can just do a few things and we can get the results. But as you know, it is around changing a lot of behaviors and legacies. I mean, you started off with a very toxic environment. You had to change it. You had to hit the refresh on that culture, change the culture, and not just the relationships and the behaviors and the communication, the leadership, the culture, but also the processes, the procedures, the systems, the governance to match it. And
everything was integrated, because it wasn't just about the people. So first, I did a lot of interviews to understand what was the discontent about, what was the negative reason why they had this negative attitude. And I got a lot of resentment just having that interview. Those were my initial interviews, and then I started to understand the environment a little more as I settled in. And what happened, they would have greeted me with the fact, oh, you're coming from the outside from a perfect multinational, because of course everywhere else you're working is better than where you're working, right? You're always in a jail where you're working. It seems to have that feeling, right? And I was like, no, but that's not perfect. It's not a perfect environment either, right? And then of course we did, after the interviews and stuff, I looked at, the issues that they had. So one of the very first thing in 2018, I would have changed the software. So I went for the ERP system, and that take a lot of training and a lot of buying why they should use this new system. And I showed them all of the benefits, because we have 2 stores. We have one in Coquille, in San Fernando, and we have one in Montreal, Chagones. And with that new ERP system, they were able to see multi-currency. They were able to see it, so they can pull up any part number that they sell. They will see it in different warehouses where they have the stock and exactly where they can get it. But it was very much a game changer for them. And they have easy search engines to find anything. So they no longer have to remember part numbers, but just put in some keywords and you'll find your relevant part number. And that was very instrumental in the sales team, because they were selling one part number to one customer. So they were selling NPN, they named it NPN, no part number, right? And one customer, just one cash, right? So we had no customer database. When I had to do date inventory counts, everything was missing because you sold it under a NPN part number. When it was received under the right part number. So even to sell, you can't find it because the system is showing you have it, but it's not in the back because you already sold it under something else. So that whole transition happened. Our inventory days were like something like 700 and something days. Inventory turnover. We have recently moved that down to something like 300 and something days. I also invested. What happened? We had a lot of slow movers. So we were carrying something like $3 million in stock, but all were slow movers. So they were not stock, running stock, your current stock that run every day. And then the managers would call me and say, they're out of stock. I was like, how are you out of stock if you have so much stock in your warehouse? Yeah. So they were ordering the wrong thing because they didn't have no inventory database to analyze, because you're not selling with the right part number, so you don't know what sells fast or what doesn't sell fast. All of that would have changed, and I did all of that. So the new system, it is priority. It is the second ERP system in this country. The first one is SAP. But that is not user friendly. As you know, if you ever used SAP, you have to know exactly your transaction number and those kind of things in terms of getting into. This one is very easy. The press button. It's very similar to like the Sage foundation, which is Peachtree and Dark Easy and MYOB and stuff like that. So it's very, very user friendly. Plus, it's very robust.
Right.
We were the first client in this country that ever went to parity, and it's a software that came out of Israel, and we get a lot of support for it, and it works very, very well because, as I said, I have multi-currency, I have multi-bank accounts, multi-warehouse. I carry over 30,000 line items in inventory.
Wow.
Right.
What's the name of the software? Sorry, it's from Israel, you said?
Priority. Priority.
Wow, Priority. Very good. I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, it's very, very beautiful. Very, and the service is excellent. And I'm working with them right now because I want to use it as an offshoot to my new business as well. So yeah, it is excellent, and the team has done well with that. All of that transition, our sales increase. I think we by 50%. By 50% by just those simple changes in actually knowing what you have in stock, knowing where you have it, right? And knowing what stock coming in, because the system also tell you, well, I have 3 more coming in stock, and this is the PO number, and this is the ETA, your expected delivery time. So they know exactly how to tell the customer. So they are pre-selling as well. Yeah. And that would have given me the foundation now to want to go into other aspects of the business.
Wow, congratulations, Chitrani. That is really fantastic. I wish we had obviously more leaders like yourself, or maybe if we did, you probably would have more competition. But it is fantastic, and it's really remarkable to hear the commitment and the foresight that you had to ensure that this kind of thing, is really going to deliver the results that you want for your business. So having, said that, I know you would have completed a what we call a business background questionnaire to just give us a little bit of insight on what are some of the challenges that you're facing. And what I'm seeing you saying here from the BBQ is that you don't see it at your senior level, but perhaps at the lower levels and the junior levels, you're beginning to see people delivering less than is expected. You also mentioned that, again, any of the issues you're seeing with the levels below in terms of the juniors, yeah? Are there any other things that you would say that are challenges with your team? And is it mostly to the juniors that you're seeing it?
Well, I would say it is to the juniors, and I can tell you why. Because I don't spend as much time with them as I would spend with the management team, right? And of course, the connectors, the management team have to spend that time with their teams, right? But of course, there are many different types of authority. There's the authority because you have a position, There's authority because they're a family member of ownership, and then there is the authority because of knowledge base, because you have the knowledge and they respect that knowledge. So I would say in recent times we have had a lot of issues with junior staff where the recruitment process, we had flaws in the recruitment process where we looked at people based on the salary that we were offering. So we were looking at the relevant qualifications and things for that. And of course, your distance that you're coming to make sure that you are making money as well from the salary that we're offering. And we, for most part, our turnover is very low. So even our junior staff, they will stay 6 to 7 years. Our senior staff, we have them for like some about 14, 15 years, right? And the rotation is very, very low. So because not only do we offer all of these trainings, I mean, I have Spanish classes going on with them religiously. I actually go through Spanish with them, and I also have a teacher that come on compound to do it for them as well. For the classes I can't do. And we constantly talk about, if you want to go and further your studies, we will be willing to help you, because we do see that investment into people, that they actually bring it back to the company. But for some reason, I'm not seeing the connect where they are as engaged as the senior team. So I feel like there needs to be more staff meeting, like re-empowering them, giving them where the vision is and stuff like that, until the managers themselves can have that level of competence to constantly do that. So I don't have to reach to that level. Yeah. So I could tell you that's the flow there. I mean, I already know it. It's just for the vision to connect. Like, I mean, I could just tell you, I know this is a recorded interview, but within the last 3 weeks, we have had 4 exits of junior staff. 2, I would have asked for them to leave because we had a vicinity of $83,000 missing from cash, right? So there was fraudulent activities because, again, it's the type of business we are. So some people pay in lots of cash because if they're in the quarry business, they get them paid in cash, so they will pay you in cash, which is a lot of administrative because you have to make sure the cash is good. There's no fraudulent cash coming in, stuff like that. And of course, there's temptation with the cashes as well because there's so much they're dealing with, right? And if you do it once or twice and you get away because the system fall, and the system doesn't fall because it was not proper system to start, it's because people are not doing and following it through. Yeah. So then you have to constantly, instill in them that this is why it needs to be done and stuff like that. So 2 would have been asked to exit, and the other 2 decided that they would be leaving because, they were also part of the cash system. However, they didn't like the level of scrutiny that was going on. So I'm not sure if they were part of it as well. Yeah.
So it's probably not a bad thing.
Yeah, but of course, once you don't have evidence, I do not, accuse you of anything unless I have evidence, right? We have evidence against one person, but, a lot of the systems fell down. That's why they weren't able to pick it up. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, so it sounds to me that there's some accountability issues that, I mean, they didn't take ownership, accountability, responsibility for the system, because had they followed the system, obviously there were breaches of the system. And so now there were breaches, and because of those things, it led to this. And so now they're kind of trying to maybe diffuse it a little bit. It wasn't to do with
Yeah. I think I put that in your survey as well, because you would have seen where we had accountability problem where people don't really admit if they make a mistake openly or talk about their weaknesses. Like, for example, when I first came in here, I used to make a joke. Well, I'm a finance person. I'm not an HR person. So if I make mistakes with HR, you'll forgive me. Yeah. Because I did a lot of online courses in psychology and in HR in order to be where I am now, because and I would say Unilever was also a very good school, because when we went there, you would think you have an HR department, but it's really a centralized, it's not, they decentralize it back to your department, all the HR issues. So you tend to learn from that. And then, of course, when you leave, I was dealing with multicultural, multilingual issues because my department was across the Caribbean. In Puerto Rico, which they call the north part of the Caribbean, and Dominican Republic, and then there was Trinidad, which was the south part of the Caribbean.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that's it.
Listening to you, you really have a growth mindset, a lot of continuous improvement. You continue to grow. You also practice what I'm hearing you say is a beginner's mindset, meaning that we never know everything. It's always important for us to keep learning, keep growing, which is, one of the characteristics of successful people. So, Chitrani, what I'm hearing you say is that whilst you have done a lot of really great work, things are really working, there are a couple of tweaks that if you knew how to really get those tweaks or sustain those tweaks, because that's what we actually do at Engage and Grow.
Right.
One of the main things that I do is creating and sustaining high-performing agile teams and leaders, because of course it all starts from the leadership, right? So, and so you obviously are working towards that, because it sounds to me, of course, you're doing this work, the result and the vision that you see is that everybody is kind of operating with possibly being very accountable for their results, is what I'm hearing you say. Yeah, they're taking on ownership, that they're allowing themselves to be a little bit vulnerable, that owning the mistake means that you allow yourself to be a little bit vulnerable and say, hey, my bad. Right? What I will tell you based on my experience and my work as a master coach is that has to do with trust. The foundation of all of that is trust, and that if we don't have that trust, even if we don't trust each other or we're so concerned about what people think about us, we're never really going to be able to own our mistakes. It's what we call vulnerability-based trust, actually. It's a very important part of trust, which it means that you allow yourself to be vulnerable, to say, hey, boy, Chitrani, you did that so much better than me. Can you show me how to do it? Or oh my God, my bad. I messed up. I'm so sorry. I'm going to fix it. So it sounds to me.
I just want to input there. I could see it's a bit of trust, and it's a bit of feeling that if you admit that someone does something better than you, or that you don't know something, that gives you a vulnerable perspective, and then you may have a problem with your job stability. Because I remember in my early career, even if I did not know something, I would just say yes, okay, and then I would go and research it and bring back proper information. However, now I would say I'm so confident now. I say, I do not know that topic in detail, but I will research it and get back to you guys, because I don't have all the information. And if I give you an opinion, it will just be based on my basic knowledge of the topic. Yeah, I think it's letting your that vulnerability fall. And I guess it does come back to trust, knowing that your colleagues will still respect you even if you don't know everything, right? And actually respect you more for the fact that you're able to say, I just don't know, but I will surely get back to you.
So correct. And the other thing, there's so many underlying things that go on with this, and there's one that we also call unconscious bias, which is that as individuals, we have a tendency to have biases towards people, whether it's good, whether it's bad, that if someone says they don't know something, that automatically we assume that there's something wrong. When in fact, that actually vulnerability is more about courage.
Yes.
It's really having the courage. And to me, I respect a person more who says, I don't know, as opposed to the one who's trying to kind of cover it up and pretend that they do. But again, it's how we view the unconscious biases we have towards something like vulnerability, because some people see it as weakness, but it's actually about courage. So, I would love to share a little bit more. I would love to be able to introduce you more to some of the things we do at Engage and Grow, because a lot of what we do is what we call heart-based activation, which is really, you've touched on it. Yes, connecting people to the vision, but that self-awareness about who we are and who is the person that we need to become to lead this new generation of Gen Zs and millennials, because again, my kids say that I'm a boomer, but I'm not. But the point is, I'm leading as a parent. I'm a 21st century parent. I have to. As a leader, I have to lead as a 21st century leader. And if what I have known has been a 20th century leader, who is the person that I need to become? What are some of the unconscious biases that I may have that could be getting in the way of my success? That is what we do a lot of at Engage and Grow. It's about being really, to get this, it starts with the leadership, of course. It all starts with the head of the fish rot, the whole fish rot. But then how do we cascade? How do we build trust, vulnerability-based trust? Because it starts with us. How do we build teams, build relationship, improve our communication, that sort of thing. So I would love to be able to, I know our interview is only half an hour today, but I would love to be able to have an opportunity to share with you a little bit more about why our programs get such great results. Is this something that you would like to know more about? That could,
Sure,
yeah,
sure, Indira.
you to tweet.
Because I know we're running out of time. And the reason why I'm interested is because I need to constantly create growth mindset on the top of everybody's mind in order for us to grow. Now, remember, if you're part of a large company and you have large amounts of unlimited resources, then it's easy to grow, right? It's easier to grow. It's really just about if the investment makes sense, right? And then, of course, as a larger company, you attract brighter minds because, of course, success is an attractive thing by itself, right? When you're looking at because we would have moved this company from small to medium right now, but small medium, right? And you have to move it to the next level. And how do you do that? With who you attract, the type of competence that you attract, and of course the resources that you have available. And the thing about limited resources, especially finances, your ratio or your probability for mistakes have to be very, very low. Because you make a bad investment, you can destroy the entire business itself. Yeah. So that's why I'm very, very interested, because I have limited room to make mistakes. But I guess with my years of training and stuff, and of course I mean, you talk about being a parent, and it is a juggle having the kids and stuff like that, because I do have 2 of my own, plus I have my 2 nieces living with me. So I have 4 kids that I have to take care of. 3 teenagers, 1 5-year-old. And it is quite dynamic, and I have to constantly motivate them, because the new generation is asking, well, if everybody have a degree, why should I study? Because they can't even get a job anyway, right? Why should I study? And you will find people like Andrew Tate on TikTok and all these social media, which is, I don't know if you're familiar with his opinions. But a lot of teenage boys, I find, are very into him, because I was also the swim parent for Presentation College. So I was in charge of the swim team as my son swam. And they love that. They love Andrew Tate's opinions. And you have to get that, understand why do they feel like that, and then move them into the new way of thinking, without saying that Andrew Tate is bad or his opinion is not conducive to. So you cannot, when you take off Andrew Tate from a social media platform, you just not give him more power. Because people are looking for him now.
Yes, of course. Yeah, it's just taking it away. It becomes curiosity. No, I hear you, and I'd love to continue the conversation, because that's a big part of even what I do as well as a parent, and the influences that my teenage children and teenage boys have had, which has really been mine. And what are you feeding your mind? So at that age of being a teenager, you have to be really almost kind of quite I would say influential to get them to, who are the people they're surrounding themselves by, because they're asserting their independence, they want to have opinions and that sort of thing, but who are the people that are really influencing them? So it's so important, and I hear you. Not that we need to kind of audit it, but we need to be able to keep having those conversations that, nothing can happen without your basic education. You have to have your basics. As long as you have your basics, you can do anything. I know friends of mine who are engineers, and they're now leaders of companies as CEOs. because they got the engineering degree to get them in to where they didn't end up doing engineering. And it's fine. I have a lot of people, clients included, who you've done accounting, but look at, you're leading people and you learned about HR and you learned about all the things, but you knew that it was about the practice of learning and wanting and having that curiosity and expanding your knowledge that led to your success, and being open-minded as well, because it is a mindset, it is a growth mindset. So
Well,
because a lot of people have knowledge, but they don't have the mindset.
I think the basic foundation of leaders, and I would end with this statement, is saying, to become a leader, you have to become a servant. And if you don't have that servant mentality, you cannot become a leader, right? You cannot be superior. You have to have an open mind to understand that the people that you're leading can teach you as well as you can teach them. This is not a one-way conversation. This is a two-way conversation. We all learn from each other. And you have to really, I tell people, really care about the people you work for. So you care about their holistic development. When I talk about development with my managers, I don't talk about what we do in work only. I talk about your family. I talk about how that is going. I don't even start a conversation with you in the morning about work. I say, how are you going this morning? Are you good? And then I take, but for 1 minute or a few seconds to make sure you're okay. Or if I see you looking nice, I compliment you. If you're not looking down, I make sure that you at least smile before I leave you. And then we talk about work, right? Because it's a holistic development, and not every day will be great, but that's okay too, because that's why you have a team, because we are here to help you get through today. And if you need to put work on my desk, that's fine. You do that, and you take a day off, you take a half day off. So I always tell my team, don't call me and tell me you're sick. If you're just feeling tired, see, I'm tired. Boss, I'm tired. I just want a day off. I just want to spend some time with my family. That's okay too.
Yes.
That's okay too. Yeah.
Yes, agreed.
So I think it's
really
very,
very
fortunate
a boss like you.
yeah, it's really about being that servant mentality, because we do have tired days. We do want to spend a time with our family, because something our teenager said or our child said last night that really affected us, and we didn't know that they were going on that wrong path. We think, as a parent, okay, maybe I need to take that day with my son. Maybe I need to take that day with my daughter. Yeah. And that's okay, because this is called work-life balance, right? I think if you get that mix right, you get it right, because you're no longer faking to care about the person you're working with. You genuinely care. Yeah. And that's it. So I'll end with that. Thank you so much for your time.
Chitrani, it was really, truly an honor. Thank you for investing your time with me today. And I will ask my team to schedule a little bit of a longer call with you now for us to discuss, how we can support you on, creating and sustaining high-performing leaders and teams, and to, help you to support your people in your business to be able to level up and create the step change that you want for your business. So thank you very much.
Definitely.
Take care.
You.
Okay,
bye-bye.
Bye.